The afternoon sun beat down on Highway 87 as Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his brow. The 32-year-old motorcycle courier had been riding for 6 hours straight, his leather jacket clinging to his shoulders, his dark hair matted under his helmet. Just another delivery run through the Arizona desert. That's when he saw it. A golden retriever, fur matted and dirty, was sprinting full speed down the highway shoulder. But this wasn't a casual run. This was desperation. The dog's tongue hung from its mouth, paws bleeding, eyes locked on something ahead. Jake squinted and spotted what the dog was chasing, a beat-up moving truck rattling along at 50 miles per hour, completely oblivious to the animal behind it. "What the hell?" Jake muttered, twisting his throttle to get closer. The dog never wavered, even as its legs trembled with exhaustion, even as cars honked and swerved around it. The retriever kept running. There was something heartbreaking in its determination. This wasn't a stray looking for food. This was a mission. Jake had seen a lot in his years on the road, but nothing quite like this. He pulled alongside the dog, trying to figure out what to do. The animal glanced at him briefly, and in that moment, Jake saw something that made his chest tighten. Pure, undiluted love mixed with terror. "Okay, buddy," Jake said, making a decision. "Let's see what this is about." He accelerated toward the truck, horn blaring. The truck driver, a heavy-set man in his 50s with a graying beard, finally noticed Jake's frantic signals. He pulled over to the shoulder, dust clouds billowing as the vehicle came to a stop. The golden retriever collapsed 20 feet away, chest heaving, unable to take another step. "What's your problem, man?" the driver shouted as he climbed out of the cab. Jake killed his engine and removed his helmet, his brown eyes intense. "Your dog, back there. It's been chasing you for miles." "My dog?" The driver's weathered face twisted in confusion. "I don't have a—" He stopped mid-sentence, his expression transforming from annoyance to shock to horror. "Oh my God! Cooper?" The man, whose name was Tom Wilson, ran past Jake toward the collapsed dog. He fell to his knees beside the retriever, hands shaking as he touched the animal's fur. "Cooper, boy, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be—" Tom's voice broke. The dog's tail managed 3 weak thumps against the asphalt. Jake walked over slowly, giving them space. "Someone want to tell me what's going on?" Tom looked up, tears streaming into his gray beard. "I'm moving. Cross country. My daughter, she's sick. Cancer. Stage 4. I had to leave today. Couldn't wait. My ex-wife was supposed to pick up Cooper tomorrow morning. I said goodbye to him, locked him in the yard." He buried his face in the dog's fur. "You broke out, didn't you, boy? You broke out and followed me." The pieces fell into place for Jake. This dog had tracked the truck's scent for God knows how many miles, refusing to let his human go. It was the kind of loyalty you read about but never expected to witness. "How far have we come from your place?" Jake asked quietly. 43 miles, Tom whispered. He ran 43 miles. Tom sat on the ground, cradling Cooper's head in his lap. The dog's breathing had steadied, but he was in bad shape, dehydrated, paws torn up, completely spent. "I don't know what to do," Tom said, his voice hollow. "I have to get to Boston. Emily starts her treatment on Monday. If I don't leave now, I won't make it. But I can't—" He choked on the words. "I can't leave him again." Jake crouched down, examining Cooper's paws. He'd need water, food, probably a vet. The nearest town was 15 miles back. "Your ex-wife still picking him up tomorrow?" Jake asked. Tom nodded. "She said she would. She loves Cooper. But—" He looked at his dog, at the bloody paws, at the exhaustion. "How do I leave him again? How do I do that to him after what he just did?" This was the moment that would define everything. Jake thought about his own life, the failed relationships, the commitments he'd walked away from when things got tough. He'd spent years running, always taking the easy route, never sticking around when people needed him. Looking at this dog, at this man torn between two loves, something shifted inside Jake. What if he didn't have to choose? Jake heard himself say. Tom looked up. What? I'm heading east. I could take Cooper to your ex-wife's place. Make sure he gets checked by a vet. Wait until she picks him up. Jake surprised himself with the offer. He was a loner by nature, never one to get involved in other people's problems. You'd do that? For a stranger? Jake looked at Cooper, who was watching him with those soulful eyes. For him, what he just did, that kind of love shouldn't be punished. Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his wallet and pulled out a worn photo. A younger version of himself with a little girl on his shoulders, and Cooper as a puppy beside them. This is Emily. She's 23 now, and she's fighting for her life. His voice cracked. Cooper was her dog first, her 8th birthday present. When her mother and I split, Cooper stayed with me, but... He wiped his eyes. Everything I'm doing right now is for her. She'd want me to make sure Cooper's safe. Then go be with your daughter, Jake said firmly. I've got Cooper. 30 minutes later, Jake had transformed his motorcycle setup. He'd called his dispatcher, cleared his schedule, and rigged a makeshift carrier using his delivery blankets and bungee cords. Cooper, now with water in his system and his paws wrapped in torn pieces of Tom's flannel shirt, would ride in front of Jake, secured but comfortable. Tom handed Jake a folded piece of paper with his ex-wife's address, phone number, and vet information. Sarah, that's my ex. She's expecting Cooper tomorrow morning. Here's the vet we always used. And... He pulled out $300 in cash. For whatever he needs. Food, medical, whatever. Jake tried to refuse the money, but Tom insisted. Please. It's the least I can do. They loaded Cooper onto the bike. The dog was surprisingly calm, as if he understood that this stranger was helping him. Tom spent 5 minutes saying goodbye, whispering promises into Cooper's ear about seeing him again, about Emily getting better, about second chances. Tell Sarah. Tom started, then stopped. Tell her I'm sorry, about everything, and thank her for doing this. Jake nodded, securing his helmet. Your daughter's going to be okay. You made the right choice coming to her. I made 2 right choices today, Tom said, looking at Jake. The second was trusting you. As Jake's motorcycle pulled away, Tom stood alone on the highway shoulder, watching his dog disappear toward home. In his truck, he had everything he owned, but his heart was split in 3 directions, toward Boston, toward Cooper, and toward the life he'd once had. Jake felt the weight of Cooper against his chest as they rode. The dog's heartbeat was steady now, calm. Whatever fear or panic had driven him to run 43 miles had subsided. He trusted Jake. That trust felt heavy. Jake hadn't been trusted with much in his life. He'd made sure of that, keeping people at arm's length, never staying anywhere long enough to become responsible for anyone else's happiness. But here he was, carrying a dog who'd just displayed more loyalty and courage than Jake had shown in 32 years of living. Okay, Cooper, Jake said into the wind. Let's get you home. They made it 12 miles before the motorcycle started sputtering. No, 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 Jake muttered, feeling the engine lose power. He managed to coast to a rest stop just as the bike died completely. Cooper looked up at him with what Jake could swear was concern. It's fine, Jake told the dog, though his stomach was nodding. Just a mechanical issue. I've dealt with worse. Except he hadn't. Not with an injured dog depending on him. Not with a deadline to meet someone else's ex-wife. Not with the weight of Tom's trust on his shoulders. Jake spent an hour trying to diagnose the problem. Fuel line was fine. Spark plugs looked good. Battery had charge. But the engine wouldn't turn over. Cooper lay in the shade watching Jake work. The dog had drunk more water and eaten the emergency protein bars Jake kept in his pack, but he needed proper care. Those paws needed a vet, not torn flannel and hope. As the sun dipped lower, Jake felt the old familiar urge to cut and run. He could call Tom's ex-wife, explain the situation, tell her where they were. Someone else could deal with this. It wasn't his problem. He looked at Cooper, at those trusting brown eyes. "Your dad didn't give up on running 43 miles, Jake said aloud. "I guess I can't give up on a broken bike." He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. Most were old numbers, people he'd lost touch with. Then he saw it. Marcus. Marcus Chen had been his best friend in high school, back before Jake started running from everything. They'd lost contact 12 years ago when Jake had bailed on being Marcus's best man because commitment scared him. His finger hovered over the call button. Pride warred with necessity. Cooper made a soft whining sound. "Yeah, you're right," Jake said. "Pride's stupid." He made the call. Marcus answered on the third ring. "Jake Martinez? Is this the Jake Martinez who vanished off the face of the earth 12 years ago?" Jake winced. "Hey, Marcus. I know it's been 12 years, Jake. Not a word. Not at my wedding, not when my dad died, not—" "I know. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." Jake took a breath. "I need help. I'm stranded with a broken bike and an injured dog who needs a vet, and I don't have anyone else to call." The line was silent for a long moment. Then, "Where are you?" Marcus arrived 90 minutes later, pulling up in a pickup truck. He'd aged well. Same athletic build, same warm smile, though his black hair was shorter now and he wore glasses. He took one look at Jake, then at Cooper, and immediately knelt by the dog. "Tell me everything," Marcus said, his voice professional. That's when Jake remembered. Marcus had become a veterinarian. As Marcus examined Cooper, Jake told the whole story. The chase, Tom's daughter, the promise he'd made. He didn't leave anything out, including his own doubts about whether he could follow through. Marcus worked quietly, cleaning Cooper's paws properly, checking for other injuries. "He's a tough one. These paws are bad, but they'll heal. He's dehydrated but stable. Nothing broken." He looked up at Jake. "He needs rest and proper care for a few days. I need to get him to Tom's ex-wife by tomorrow morning." "Why?" Marcus asked simply. "Because I promised." Marcus sat back on his heels. "Jake, let me ask you something. Why did you really call me?" "Because I needed a vet." "No. You could have called any emergency vet service. You called me because 12 years ago, you ran away from being my best man and you've been running ever since. And today, you're finally trying to stop running." Marcus's voice wasn't angry. It was gentle, understanding. "This isn't just about the dog, is it?" Jake felt his throat tighten. "I don't know how to not run, Marcus. I don't know how to be the person people trust. That guy in the truck, Tom, he looked at me like I was someone who keeps promises. Cooper trusts me, but I don't trust myself." Marcus stood and put a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Then maybe it's time to learn. And maybe this dog just showed you how." Marcus insisted they spend the night at his place, a small house 20 minutes from the rest stop. He loaded Cooper into his truck while Jake's motorcycle was towed to Marcus's garage. Over dinner, with Cooper sleeping peacefully on a dog bed Marcus had pulled out, the two old friends began to rebuild their bridge. "Why did you really leave?" Marcus asked. 12 years ago, my wedding." Jake pushed food around his plate. "I was terrified. Standing up there, being part of something permanent, being someone you counted on. What if I screwed it up? What if I let you down at the worst possible moment? It seemed safer to leave first." "You let me down by leaving, Jake." "I know. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but I'm sorry anyway." Marcus was quiet, then nodded. "I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago, actually. I just never got to tell you because you disappeared." They talked into the night, about Marcus's life, his veterinary practice, his marriage, his 2 kids asleep upstairs. Marcus had built everything Jake had been too scared to attempt. "Don't you ever want to run?" Jake asked. "When things get hard?" "All the time," Marcus admitted. "Marriage is hard, kids are hard, building a business is hard. But you know what I learned? Running doesn't make things easier. It just makes you alone. And being alone is the hardest thing of all. Jake looked at Cooper, still sleeping peacefully. That dog ran 43 miles to not be alone, to stay with the person he loved, even when it nearly killed him. And you're keeping a promise to a stranger to make sure that loyalty means something, Marcus said. That's not the Jake I knew 12 years ago. That's someone who's changing. Around midnight, Jake went outside to think. The desert sky was impossibly clear, stars scattered like diamonds. His motorcycle sat in Marcus's garage, still broken. Tom was driving through the night toward Boston, toward his sick daughter. Cooper was safe, warm, healing. And Jake was, for the first time in years, exactly where he needed to be. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is Tom. Made it to Boston. Emily's stable. Starting treatment Monday. How's Cooper?" Jake smiled and typed back. "He's safe. Being looked after by the best vet I know. I'll get him home. I promise." 3 dots appeared then. "Thank you for being the kind of person who keeps promises. The world needs more people like you." Jake stared at that message for a long time. The kind of person who keeps promises. Was that who he was becoming? Cooper appeared at his side, limping slightly but mobile. The dog leaned against Jake's leg. "Yeah, buddy," Jake said softly. "I'm figuring it out." Morning came with Marcus making coffee and Cooper eating proper dog food. Jake's phone showed Tom's ex-wife, Sarah, was expecting them in 4 hours. "About your bike," Marcus said. "I took a look this morning. It's your starter motor. I don't have the part, but I know someone who does. They can have it here by noon." "That's too late. I promised I'd be there by 11. Marcus sipped his coffee. "So what are you going to do?" It was a test, Jake realized. The old Jake would have made excuses, would have called Sarah and postponed, would have found a way to wiggle out of the exact timing of his promise. "I'll take the bus," Jake said, "with Cooper. If that's okay, if he's well enough to travel." Marcus smiled. "He's well enough. And Jake? I'm proud of you." By 8 a.m., Jake was at the bus station with Cooper. The dog wore a proper bandage now, courtesy of Marcus's veterinary supplies. Jake had bought a carrier and a leash, using the money Tom had given him. The bus ride was 2 hours of Jake and Cooper learning about each other. The dog was calm, well-trained, occasionally resting his head on Jake's leg. Other passengers smiled at them, an elderly woman even tearing up when Jake briefly explained what Cooper had done. "That's real love," she said. "Both the dog's love for his owner and your love for doing right by them both." Love. Jake turned the word over in his mind. Was that what this was? He barely knew Tom or Cooper, but he cared what happened to them. He cared about keeping his word. He cared about being someone worth trusting. Maybe that was a kind of love too, the decision to show up for people, even when it cost you something. His phone rang. "Marcus. Your bike's fixed. I had my guy rush the part. It'll be ready when you get back, no charge." "Marcus, I can't." "You can and you will. Consider it 12 years of missed birthday presents." Marcus paused. "Jake, what you're doing matters. Don't forget that." Sarah's house was a modest ranch-style home with a well-maintained yard. Jake stood at the door, Cooper sitting calmly beside him, and knocked. The woman who answered was in her late 40s, with kind eyes and auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her expression went from confused to shocked to emotional in seconds. "Cooper?" She dropped to her knees. "Oh my God, Cooper!" The dog's tail wagged furiously as Sarah examined him, running her hands over his fur, checking his bandaged paws, tears streaming down her face. "You must be Jake," she said, looking up. "Tom called me last night. He told me everything. What Cooper did, what you did." She stood, wiping her eyes. "Thank you doesn't seem like enough." "Cooper did the hard part," Jake said. "I just helped him get home." They moved to Sarah's living room. Cooper immediately settled onto a dog bed that clearly belonged to him. His scent must have still lingered. The dog finally relaxed completely, home at last. Sarah made tea and told Jake her story. The marriage to Tom had ended 5 years ago, not from lack of love, but from growing in different directions. Emily's diagnosis had shattered them all. Tom and I haven't spoken much since the divorce, Sarah admitted. But when he called about Emily, about having to leave immediately, her voice broke. I understood. You do anything for your children. He loves that dog, Jake said. Leaving Cooper nearly destroyed him. I know. Cooper was always Tom's shadow. After the divorce, I wanted to take him, but it seemed cruel to separate them. And now... She looked at the sleeping dog. Now Cooper's shown us all what real loyalty looks like. He chose Tom, even knowing it might kill him. Jake told Sarah everything. The chase, Tom's impossible choice, the night at Marcus's, the journey here. As he talked, he realized something. This story wasn't just about Cooper. It was about all of them. Tom choosing his daughter, Cooper choosing his human, Jake choosing to keep a promise, Marcus choosing to forgive. What are you going to do now? Sarah asked. Jake hadn't thought that far ahead. Go back, I guess. Get my bike. Return to work. Just like that? Back to normal? He considered this. I don't think I can go back to normal. I don't think I'm the same person who started this ride yesterday. Sarah smiled. Good. The world has enough people who stay the same. We need more people who are brave enough to change. That evening, Sarah insisted Jake stay for dinner. As they ate, Jake's phone rang, Tom's number. Put it on speaker, Sarah said quietly. I'd like to hear how Emily's doing. Tom's voice came through, exhausted but hopeful. Jake? Did Cooper make it to Sarah's? He's home, Tom, safe and sound, and Sarah's here with me. I'm putting you on speaker. Sarah? Tom's voice cracked. Sarah, I'm so sorry. About asking you to do this, about everything. Tom, Sarah interrupted gently. How's our daughter? Their daughter. After 5 years of divorce, Emily was still ours. She's strong, Tom said. Stronger than me. She starts treatment Monday and the doctors are optimistic. She asked about Cooper first thing. Sarah laughed through tears. Of course she did. Tell her Cooper's a hero, Jake interjected. Tell her he ran 43 miles because love made him unstoppable. There was a pause. Then Tom said, his voice thick with emotion. Jake, I don't know how to thank you. You didn't have to do any of this. I was a stranger on a highway. You weren't a stranger, Jake said, surprising himself with the truth of it. You were someone faced with an impossible choice, and you chose love. Cooper chose love. How could I do anything less? The three of them talked for an hour. Tom from Boston, Sarah from her living room, Jake from a life he was just beginning to understand. They talked about Emily, about Cooper's recovery, about second chances, and the ways life forces us to choose between the people we love. Before hanging up, Tom said, Jake, when Emily's well enough, and she will be, I have to believe that. I want you to meet her. I want her to know the man who helped bring Cooper home. Will you come to Boston? The old Jake would have deflected, would have made vague promises he'd never keep. But Jake felt Cooper's weight against his leg, saw Sarah's hopeful expression, and heard in Tom's voice the same thing he'd seen in Cooper's eyes 2 days ago. Trust. Yes, Jake said. I'll come. I promise. After the call ended, Sarah looked at Jake. You meant that, didn't you? About going to Boston? I did. I'm tired of being the person who doesn't show up. The next morning, Jake prepared to leave. Cooper was healing well, comfortable in his home, surrounded by Sarah's care. The dog walked Jake to the door, moving better already. Jake knelt down, looking Cooper in the eyes. You taught me something, buddy. You taught me that love isn't convenient or easy. It's 43 miles of bleeding pause and exhaustion. It's choosing to show up even when everything in you wants to quit. Cooper licked Jake's hand. Sarah handed Jake an envelope. Don't open it now. Open it when you get back on your bike. The bus ride back felt different. Jake watched the landscape pass, thinking about the last 2 days. He'd started this journey as a courier, someone who delivered packages and avoided connections. He was returning as someone who'd delivered something far more valuable. A promise kept, a loyalty honored, a trust earned. Marcus was waiting at the bus station, Jake's motorcycle gleaming beside his truck. Runs like new, Marcus said. Better, actually. What do I owe you? Your word that we're friends again. That you'll answer when I call. That you'll be at my kids' birthday parties and come over for barbecues and stop running away from people who care about you. Jake felt his throat tighten. That's not an equal trade. You're right. I'm getting the better deal. Marcus pulled him into a hug. Welcome back, Jake. I missed you. On the highway, Jake stopped at a rest area and opened Sarah's envelope. Inside was a photo of Emily as a little girl, beaming at the camera with Cooper as a puppy in her arms. On the back, Sarah had written, "This is what you saved. Not just a dog's life, but the connection between a father and daughter, a family's hope, and a young woman's will to fight. You showed us all that strangers can be heroes, and that keeping your word still matters in this world. Thank you for being the person we needed, Sarah." Below that, in different handwriting, younger, shakier, were additional words. Jake, Dad told me everything you did. I don't know if I'll ever meet you, but I want you to know that Cooper's loyalty gave me courage. If a dog can fight that hard for love, I can fight this hard for life. Thank you for bringing my best friend home. Love, Emily. Jake sat on his motorcycle, hands shaking, reading Emily's words over and over. She'd written this from a hospital bed, facing cancer, and she was thanking him. He pulled out his phone and texted Tom. Tell Emily I'll see her in Boston. Tell her heroes run toward the people they love, not away. And tell her that thanks to Cooper, I'm finally learning to do the same. 3 months later, Jake stood in a Boston hospital room, holding a small birthday cake. Emily sat in a chair by the window, thinner than in her childhood photos, but with her mother's kind eyes and her father's determined smile. Her hair was growing back in soft patches. You actually came, she said, her voice full of wonder. I promised, Jake said simply. Tom and Sarah were there too, standing together with an ease that spoke of healing wounds. Cooper lay at Emily's feet, having been specially approved for this visit. They celebrated Emily's 24th birthday with cake and stories. Emily wanted to hear everything about the chase, about Cooper's 43-mile run, about the moment Jake decided to help. What made you do it? Emily asked. You didn't know us. You could have just kept riding. Jake thought about this. I think I'd been keeping riding my whole life. Riding past commitments, past relationships, past any chance to be someone people could count on. And then I saw Cooper. And I saw what love looks like when it refuses to quit. I wanted to be part of that story instead of just watching it pass by. You did more than that, Tom said quietly. You gave me the chance to be here with my daughter. You gave Cooper the chance to come home. You gave all of us the chance to... He looked at Sarah, then back to Jake. To remember what matters. Sarah nodded. Tom and I aren't getting back together, she said clearly. But we're finding our way to being family again. Co-parents who actually communicate. Friends, maybe. Eventually. Because life's too short, Tom added, to waste it on old anger when there's so much love worth fighting for. Emily reached down to stroke Cooper's head. The doctors say I'm responding well to treatment. They're optimistic. She looked at Jake. When I was scared, when I wanted to give up, I thought about Cooper running those 43 miles. If he could do that, I could handle another round of chemo. Jake felt his eyes burning. "You're the real hero in this story, Emily." "No," she said firmly. "We all are. Dad for racing to be with me. Mom for stepping up. Cooper for running. You for helping a stranger. We're all heroes when we choose love over fear." 1 year later, Jake's life looked completely different. He still worked as a courier, but he'd expanded his business to include volunteer work, delivering supplies to animal shelters, running errands for elderly people, helping anyone who needed something transported but couldn't afford big shipping companies. He'd reconnected with old friends, including being the best man at Marcus's brother's wedding. He showed up, he kept promises, he let people count on him. He visited Emily every few months. She was in remission, back in school, planning her future. Cooper was healthy, still living with Sarah but visiting Tom during holidays. The dog had become something of a local legend. The dog who ran 43 miles for love. But the biggest change was in Jake himself. He'd learned that running wasn't freedom, it was prison. Real freedom came from choosing to stay, to show up, to be present even when it was hard. Real freedom came from being someone people could trust. On the anniversary of the day he'd seen Cooper running, Jake rode back to that same stretch of Highway 87. He pulled over at the exact spot where Tom's truck had stopped, where everything had changed. He took out his phone and called Tom. "Hey, brother," Tom answered. They'd become close over the year, bonding over video calls and visits to Emily. "I'm at the spot," Jake said, "where it all happened. Hard to believe it's been a year. How's Emily?" "Strong, healthy. She just registered for next semester's classes. Pre-med, believe it or not. She says she wants to help people the way her doctors helped her." Jake smiled. "And Cooper?" "Still the most loyal dog on the planet. He and Emily video chat every week. It's ridiculous and beautiful." "And you and Sarah?" Tom laughed. "We're good, really good. Not together, but good. We're having dinner tonight, actually, the three of us. Emily's idea. She says we're proof that love doesn't always look the way you expect it to." Jake looked out at the desert, at the endless highway stretching in both directions. A year ago, he would have seen this as a metaphor for escape routes. Now he saw it as a metaphor for journeys, not away from people, but toward them. "Tom, I need to tell you something," Jake said. "That day changed my life. Not just that day, but what came after. You trusted me with something precious, and it made me want to be worthy of that trust. I'm not the same person I was." "None of us are," Tom said quietly. "That's the point, isn't it? We're all works in progress. We mess up, we run away, we get scared. But then something happens. A dog runs 43 miles. A stranger keeps a promise. A daughter fights for her life. And we remember who we want to be." After they hung up, Jake sat on his motorcycle for a long time, thinking about the journey. Not just the 43 miles Cooper ran, or the rides Jake had taken to get the dog home, but the internal journey, from running away to running toward, from fear to trust, from isolation to connection. His phone buzzed with a group text from Marcus, Tom, Sarah, and Emily. Marcus had sent a photo of Cooper wearing a birthday hat. It was the anniversary of Cooper's second life, as they'd started calling it. Emily's message: "Happy rebirthday to Cooper. And thank you, Jake, for being there at exactly the right moment. You didn't just save a dog. You saved all of us in different ways." Sarah's message: "Forever grateful for the stranger who became family." Tom's message: "Some people come into your life for a reason. You came into ours to teach us about courage, loyalty, and second chances. Love you, brother." Marcus's message: "Proud of you, Jake. You finally stopped running and discovered that standing still, being present, being there for people, is the bravest thing of all." Jake typed his response: "Cooper did the brave part. I just followed his example." Sometimes the best teachers have 4 legs and don't need words to show you what love looks like. As he started his engine and pulled back onto the highway, Jake thought about all the people traveling these roads, each one carrying their own stories, their own struggles, their own chances to be someone's hero. He rode with purpose now, not away from anything, but toward everything that mattered, toward the people who counted on him, toward the promises he'd make and keep, toward the man he was becoming. Cooper had shown him the way. 43 miles of bleeding paws and unstoppable love. A lesson written in loyalty, demonstrated in courage, and received by a man who'd finally learned to stop running. Jake smiled as he rode, the Arizona sun warm on his back, the road ahead full of possibility. Because that's what second chances look like. Not a chance to erase the past, but a chance to write a better future. And Jake was finally ready to write his.